Welcome to Pod to Win the Game. I am Charles Robinson, senior NFL writer for Yahoo Sports. He is Frank Schwab joining me today. And Frank, I'm so glad we're getting on quickly after Tom Brady has rejoined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I am so sick of what we have to do in our jobs now, because some on Reddit says, hey, you know, Tom's not with the Buccaneers, and I found some dates where the Masked Singer's trying out people for episodes. So maybe that means Tom left the team to go shoot episodes of The Masked Singer. I don't actually have any proof. It's just me totally pulling this out of my ass. But I'm going to go ahead and post it on Reddit. And guess what? It's going to actually become a story. What is going on?
You're just mainlining Red Bull over there. I can't.
Bro.
I cannot match your intensity today. You are fired up.
Frank, every day, every couple hours, I had to see another tweet or another aggregated story about, well, maybe this Masked Singer thing. The poor Buccaneers writers who actually had to call Fox and go, right. This is ludicrous, but this is the day and age that we live in. So I got to call you and ask if Tom Brady of all people, left his team for 11 days to go shoot footage for the Masked Singer based on nothing, based on some idiot on Reddit posting something and just completely making it up. But because of the world we live in now, every click is the same. It could be a Pulitzer click, or it can be John Finkelbaum with my fist up my ass, and now it's a story. I'm serious. Few things pissed me off more than someone making up something on Reddit. And then all of a sudden, I'm not kidding, Frank. You know how I heard about this? An agent, a very prominent agent, texted me and said, is this real? And it was some aggregated story. And I'm like, oh my God. And I thought, there's a leak at Fox. Oh my God, this is the Titanic hitting the iceberg. Tom Brady's going down. I can't believe you would do this. And then when I actually looked at it, I'm like, wait, what? This is off of Reddit? Off of Reddit? Somebody who literally said, I don't have anything to prove any of this. I don't know if this is real, but here's some dates.
Right. Now, I had my moments where I was wondering, like, what's really going on here? Like, and I know you had said long ago about, and I had been like, this is a little weird. Like, this is maybe a guy who, especially when Todd Bowles kept saying, like, we don't know when he'll be back. We're going to have to see. Okay. But I didn't buy the Masked Singer. I didn't think he was on Big Brother. Did not think he was doing a cameo on You Think You Can Dance. Didn't think he was guessing songs on Beat Shazam. Didn't go on any other reality TV. But do you watch Masked Singer, Charles? You sound like a big fan. You sound like you really enjoy that show. I'm a really big fan. You know, and more so, I'm a fan of fans who sit there and go, I know what the dates are for auditions. So that means that a guy who the slam dunk Hall of Famer, potentially greatest player in the history of professional sports, arguably, left his team for 11 days to go shoot a freaking game show, stupid idiot TV. Yeah, that's totally plausible that would happen. And again, you know what, Frank, you're right. Like, we all sat there. All of us were like, this is weird. Like, it's weird. It was weird. But real quick, because you know, me and you have been covering this league forever. Can you remember another instance where a guy just left for 11 days ish? Like, I can't. I seriously can't.
I can't. And it was weird when it happened. And my initial thought process, and I think this was most people who have covered the league and Brady or whatever, was his family's dealt with, you know, serious illness. I'm like, okay, is this something related to maybe his parents? Like, he's taking a break here. Now, flashback. I told Dan Wetzel, okay, toot our own horn here for a second, told Dan Wetzel in mid-July. I said, hey, you know, I think this is, you know, Brady's last season. whatever. You can just re-rack that, Brett, and play the clip here, whatever. Coming out of talking to Dan about, hey, this is like Gisele, after reading this book, it's really clear that she's struggled with where kind of Tom is in his football career, the fact that this has gone so long and so deep, and she's struggled with it, and he's kind of dealt with that. They've dealt with it together. It's a big deal that there's an end point to this, and there's definitely some negotiating going on between the two of them, and as in I'm sure there is in any marriage. So when this initially happened, I thought, okay, well, if it's not family-related illness, I could totally see it being something related to at what his teammates were saying. Hey, family comes first, right? The team framed it as, hey, this is about family. It's extremely rare for someone to pop out like that. And let's be honest, most players, almost all players, if anybody takes an 11-day break to go to the Bahamas, which is what's been reported with his wife, we would be absolutely murdering that player.
Odell Beckham and his crew going on the boat, right?
Oh, right? Oh, I mean, it'd be the end.
Or Tony Romo, Jessica Simpson.
Tony Romo, Jessica Simpson, right? And remember, that was during a bye week, at least. That wasn't even during. But again, I think that the prism you have to view this through is nobody at the Buccaneers had a problem with it. None of the players had a problem.
Yeah, I get it. If there's one guy who deserves that, fine. He's Tom. He'll get it.
Nobody in the front office had a problem with it. So here's in the middle of all this, as it dragged on, as Todd Bowles said what he said, and I'm thinking, wow, this just feels weird. The Buccaneers, and I can tell you this first person conversation, there was no, hey. It felt like there was no lying coming from the organization when what was relayed to me was, no, it really was planned. It's not a big deal. Like, we're not sweating it at all. We're totally good. And someone even made the joke to me about, like, honestly, the young guys is kind of a good break to get away from Tom, who's maniacal and drives these young guys and, like, honestly can be a little bit of a bully sometimes in practice in a good way, like all the elite top tier quarterbacks tend to be bullies. They expect a lot. They get a little break from Tom for 11 days. It's two separate things. Number one, 11 days. How do you feel about that? But then number two, can you at least agree with me that this stupidity of the era we live in now, that someone just goes on some social media platform, creates something that they even say has no basis whatsoever, and yet it gets written about and aggregated and tweeted and actually becomes a thing for like 48 hours.
Right. And I mean, people like conspiracy theories more than they like the obvious answer. Like, you could tell them, no, this is what happened, and they'll come up with a conspiracy. People, they just like it more than the truth. And so people's minds wander, and it's fun for them. And I think it's dumb at times. The only thing that threw me off was Todd Bowles. And I get it's a weird situation. He probably didn't really want to deal with this. So he blew off questions in a weird way where he just he was so non-committal about everything. It was like, well, we don't know when he's going to be. We don't know if he's going to be available week one. Like, if he would have just come out and said, guys, this is dumb. What are we even asking about? We already told you he's gone. He'll be back on Monday. No story at all. Then my radar wouldn't have been up, but he kept kind of passing it off in a way that made it like, is something going on here that we're not really knowing about? But other than that, I mean, you are correct. On your second point, absolutely. It's crazy that, like, the whole Masked Singer thing became a thing.
I asked specifically about the Bulls thing, and I can actually answer to that. So what I was told was Todd didn't want to take the position. Nobody in the organization wanted to take the position of stating what the end date was. And they knew when the end date was. There actually was a hard end date. He was supposed to return on Monday. But no one in the organization wanted to pin that out there.
Because then if he comes back on Tuesday for whatever reason, then it's a freak out at that.
That is 100% it. It was just like, we know he's coming back on Monday. Totally fair. We're going to keep that in-house. And I'll also say this. They did a really good job keeping it in-house in terms of what the exact time frame was going to be. They were very good about not leaking out specifically what's going on. The gist of it that I got was, this was a vacation that was planned by Gisele. Okay. This was something that was already planned. Remember when he went through the faux retirement thing? Right? Yeah. The faux retirement thing, the Miami thing wasn't working out. Then all of a sudden it was like, hey, maybe he's not going to go back.
Right.
This was before the kids were going back to school, wanted to get together, spend time together as a family. And then Tom decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back to the Buccaneers, which I think was up in the air. Like after the whole Miami thing, I think when that didn't pan out, it was sort of like, well, is he going to go back to the Buccaneers? And that really never got back on the tracks until he went to the Man U game and spent time with the Glazers. And then all of a sudden things started to change a little bit. But whatever the case, I will say that any other player gets killed for this. Okay. And if people want to throw,
let me ask, because I was going to ask you this. Should we be killing Tom Brady? Not killing him. But let me ask you in this way. Look, we had a guy retire for 40 days and he comes back. We had a guy leave training camp for 11 days. Is it possible that we're just ignoring some warning signs of maybe Brady isn't totally all in? And if you say you're being crazy, Frank, it's not the first time you told me that, won't be the last. But I do have it in the back of my head of, is he have that focus? He's maniacal focus for 20 years now. And that is what has made him great. And he is the greatest of all time. And I'm not taking anything away from him. But you start to lose that focus just a little bit in the NFL. And you're 45 years old when the history of the NFL, 45-year-old quarterbacks, I don't know if you know this. There's only one guy who's ever thrown a pass at 45-year-old. Is George Blanda. He had 116 yards total. We are in such weird, unprecedented times with Tom Brady, where if he lets his focus slip just a little bit, and taking 11 days off a training camp is not a normal thing. Like, this is a little weird. 40 days retired was weird. Are we not focusing on this enough as maybe a possible warning sign of maybe this last year for Tom Brady isn't going to work out like we think it will?
It's 100% fair. I think the team embraced it. Remember, you had a backup quarterback who now got first team snaps for 11 days. I mean, you had an 11-day period there where you got a better look at some younger guys on that depth chart. And I think they know we got to figure out what we have in 2023 because this guy's probably not going to be around. I think their clear assumption is that this is it. It's done so after 2023. And so I think that's why maybe they're not being critical. I think, again, with the players, it is so unprecedented. It's like Jordan. If Jordan was like, hey, man, this is what I'm going to do, like players like, all right, man.
I'll see you opening day. Okay, Mike.
Cool. That's Michael Jordan, man. Like, we ain't screwed. Like, okay. Right.
He's the only guy who can really get away with it.
There's literally, you could count on one hand the number of people. Like, Serena Williams in her prime, when she was like, hey, I don't want to do X. You were like, yeah, whatever, man. It's Serena Williams. It's the greatest tennis player in history. Going to go ahead and, just give her a pass on that one because it's Serena. I think, again, there's a finite number of athletes who can get away with this. I think the fact that it is in unprecedented territory in terms of his age also, weirdly enough, probably leans into this kind of thing being completely unprecedented as well. We've never had a player like him at this stage of a career. Teams don't know how to handle. I mean, they're creating the playbook as they go. Tom's not here during the offseason. Hey, he took a break. Because clearly, there's some familial stuff going on that he wants to make sure he tends to with his wife. And, so we're going to go ahead and lean into that. And we're going to have Tom Brady. And, oh, by the way, we went and got Julio. And, we're losing a bunch of offensive linemen, which isn't great. But we're trying to do what we can to keep this thing together. If he gets criticized later, though, he made some remarks even before taking this time where he talked about hey, I don't know how much longer I'm going to have the fire.
That was a red flag to me too.
That was a red flag too.
Wait, and I think we talked about that. And I'm not. By the way, I want to make clear, I'm not criticizing him. He's Tom Brady. If you're 45 and you say, "Hey, I'll come back," but I'm taking 11 days off in August, and the team's like, "Cool, you're Tom Brady. You can do that." I'm not necessarily criticizing him. I'm just wondering, man, if it just seems like, especially at Tom Brady's level of competitiveness, you're either all in or you're not. There's no in between on here. And I just wonder, and it wouldn't even I couldn't criticize him. He's been playing in the NFL for 22 years. He has nothing left to prove. If you're your mind starts, you got a $380 million contract with Fox or however much it is. I think it's somewhere in there. you have other things on your mind, and maybe sometimes you're just like, it sounded like a good idea to come back, and I don't know if I want to go through this grind again. I would totally understand that, and I'm not criticizing him for it. I wouldn't criticize him for taking time off during training, anything like that. I just wonder. It's in the back of my mind is all.
Going back to reading Seth Wickersham's book, It's Better to Be Feared, and all the stuff where it laid out what was going on with Giselle and the problems that they were having and the struggles. Part of me wonders, is this Tom's, like, does Tom Brady look at this as sort of, now he has the excuse to drive himself 100% in, like, hey, I did this. I went and spent 11 days. I took time out of training. I never do anything like that. Now I'm back. And you know, like, hey, I'm locked in. Like I my entire world, I am immersed now in football. I took an unprecedented 11 days out in the middle of camp. That never happens. Okay. And now I'm back, and this is it. This is my farewell run.
Giving this thing 6 more months, and whatever happens after that. But these 6 months are, I'm giving it everything I got. I can see
now I have an excuse. Now I have an excuse, right? Yeah. I took time out. I did what I did. It's never been done before. The team played along with it. My teammates sacrificed. Everybody sacrificed for me to be able to do this. Now I have the excuse to become maniacal through February. If he takes it that far, I can be maniacal through February and not think about anything else but football. And then when it's done, it's done. And then, okay, that's it. So
I think that's a very fair point by you. Yeah.
I don't know. It was the whole thing was an interesting 11 days, and it gave people plenty to talk about.
Masked Singer is one of those shows, man. It's like, I mean, I think it's stupid. And then you end up watching it. You're like, I've been watching this for a couple hours on demand. What am I doing?
That was not a Masked Singer rant. That was a
all right.
I hate, check it out. Like, I hate that people.
What if we're sitting here like a month, whenever this airs, and Tom Brady's on that show? I want to do an emergency pod with you just for your reaction.
Listen, okay, we'll do an emergency pod. I will apologize to the Reddit
person. Yes,
Tim Finkelbaum or whatever. Yeah, that idiot. I will apologize. Really nice I'll wear a dunce cap for that emergency podcast, and I will wear a chain that says idiot. Okay. I will be the idiot. Right. And then B, I'm going to
save this, please, just in case, just on the offhand chance, because yes, I would.
And then B, I'm going to kill Tom Brady. I'm going to steamroll Tom Brady, because you know what? You take 11 days because you're like, hey, I'm married. This is a real thing. Family, okay. I'm 45. Like, this is like, okay. Like I went, stuff was on the rocks at times the last couple of years. I'm doing what I need to try to balance these two worlds as I close my book in football. Okay, fine. No, you took 11 days out and you went on Masked Singer. No, man, you dead. You like, we are dragging you. Okay, for that. And that means Bill Belichick gets the all-time W in my book at that point. Okay. All right.